Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast, where grit meets growth. With your host, Nic Espanet, bringing you stories of resilience, reinvention, and the real climb to success.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. Today, we're joined by John Schissler. John and I have known each other for 3 or 4 years. Excited to have him on the podcast and learn more about what he does. He owns a franchise of Chicken Salad Chicks. He has 10 franchises across 2 states. Not only is he a great entrepreneur, but a great guy too. Just does a lot of great things in the community. And we're part of a workout group that we both attend fairly regularly and cross paths. So it's been great getting to know him a little bit, and I look forward to getting to know him even more today. John, welcome. Can you give everybody kind of a high level view of what it is what you do at your restaurants, how many you own, and kind of how you got into that space?
Sure, yeah. Thanks, Nick, for having me. Really excited about this. My journey into franchising is different probably than a lot of people's. It was not something that my wife and I were looking for necessarily. We were living in Auburn, Alabama at the time, which is where Chicken Salad Chick got started. My wife was working at the corporate office doing marketing when they had 8 locations, 10 locations, something very early on. She's a native Texan, and I knew early in our marriage we would be moving to Texas at some point. And the opportunity came up to talk to the founders about moving out here. They were starting to franchise DFW, and then we were looking for a way to get back. I was looking for a job change anyways, and so we thought, hey, we've seen this. We've talked to other owners. We've got this inside perspective, and this sounds like a great business. We love being around people. You know, we think we can make this work, and it's a way to get back here. And neither of us had worked in a restaurant a day in our lives, and we thought, how hard can it be? And it turns out very hard. I would tell people it's not super complicated. The restaurant industry is just a difficult business to be in, a challenging business. And so we moved out here with the intent of opening 3 locations, what we'd signed up for in the Fort Worth market. Got our first one open in 2016, and then we've averaged about 1 a year opening. The schedule's been a little different. And this year, technically, we made our first step into a new state with the same brand reaching out. So it's been a gradual progression for us, learning the business, starting from just learning how to work in a restaurant to growing our business to, even though it's a franchise, we still build out our team and processes, and then have scaled since then. So learned a lot about that process of how to scale those operations.
That's awesome. Yeah, Chicken Salad Chick is great. We first had it in the panhandle of Florida, maybe 10, 15 years ago. It was a long time. And so when we saw one open up in Fort Worth, like, yes, because it was kind of a treat we got just when we made trips to Florida. We were excited to see one opening up. So, in the restaurant business really just restaurant business in general, you said it's challenging, but there's a lot of competition there. What is something you think you would say sets you and your wife apart from other operators in that same area?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the starting point for us is we're involved with a great brand. Chicken Salad Chick is a really solid brand to be part of. It's got a great product. We make the food from scratch in-house every single day. So you start with that, and that's going to get people in. We say, if we can just get you to try it, you'll come back. So having a great product is a foundation. The second part of the brand that was appealing to us that we really lean into is that community involvement. And we really believe on getting involved in every community where we are, even though I can't be at every event all the time in those markets. We really encourage our teams. We try and plug in as much as we can and be forward facing in that regard. And when we got started, we called it our guerrilla marketing, boots on the ground. Just get out and beat the streets and talk to people and engage with people. And that creates this connection that brings people in as well. They want to be part of that. And I think the final thing for us, and it goes back to a little bit of this brand aspect and what we want to create within the stores, is everything right now is so transactional. Everything's online ordering. It's all about efficiency. It's all about getting in and out quick. And our stores are pretty unique, even in the restaurant space. For fast casual, we've got carpeted floors, tablecloths, chandeliers in the dining room, light pendants hanging down. It's an environment that is inviting, that people want to come and sit. So when you're in this transactional industry, that it tends to be, especially fast food, fast casual, it's all about speed. We change that model up, and you come in and sit. My managers, they get their 10,000 steps a day easy because they're working the floor, they're talking to people, and that makes a big difference. And it's something that we value, that human connection, talking with the guests, talking with our teams. And people notice that. It stands out.
That's awesome. And I wrote down relationships before you got to everything being transactional. Say getting out. I think that's great because our world has become so transactional with, order, most of your food, if it's fast casual or fast, you're probably ordering it on an app, having it delivered, maybe even having they're not even going in to pick up their own food. They have an Uber driver or somebody, like that's coming in to pick it up. So creating that and getting out, I think goes above it. In any business, I think having the relationships, especially nowadays, that goes a long way just because people aren't accustomed to it.
That's right. Yeah, and really experience based. And I think that's the common thread, like you're saying, for any business. That I talk to friends in many other industries. You can go to banking, manufacturing, construction, and it really comes down to the experience, because our product is other restaurants sell chicken salad. There's no, I think ours is better, but what we provide is the experience. And in any industry, any business, we've lost that a little bit. And so unfortunately now it is something that is seen as rare or unique when you get that level of experience and then building that relationship. And so we really lean heavily into that. Certainly for our brand.
That's awesome. Has there been something that you felt comes easier to you guys that others may have found challenging along the way?
Man, that's interesting. I would say we were maybe I could easily go the opposite way with that, like the things that we struggled with that maybe
we can go down that path. You've overcome those are hurdles you've overcome.
Man, I'll tell you, I guess part of this is because we didn't have the experience necessarily, like having come up through restaurants. You hear this in other situations too, right? Like you don't know what it should be, so you do what you think is right. And so you learn sometimes the hard way doing that, but at the same time, you come in without these preconceived notions of how the world should look. And so for us, really leaning in, the important part of the business to us was the relationships, the people. My wife had worked with a campus ministry prior to that job at the franchisor's office, and just really that part of what we could do of impacting people's lives is what stood out to us in this, and the employees. So we came in without this idea of like, we have to have all these processes and things, and you need that, but we can make decisions about how to care for people, how to treat them, that maybe others would look at from the outside and they're like, that's not what you do in a business, or that's not how you run your restaurant industry, because the restaurant industry, you treat people like this. And so that kind of gave us, it's like, I don't know. So we're just
you didn't have those bad, I don't know if I'd call them bad habits. You didn't have those habits ingrained.
That's right. Yeah. Or that's exactly right. And then when people come in, we have found that it's interesting. It is a little bit of this, like people are used to restaurants being a certain way, and our employees. And so they come in and it's very different, and it can be challenging at times because they're not used to an environment like ours. And some of it's the brand too. We're, female oriented centric. And so there's not the same level of kind of speed and things that go into other restaurants, but it is unique. Yeah. Where people come in and it's just not the experience that they've had working in other places, which for us is great. That's what we wanted. And we're fortunate to be able to lean into that.
Well, it's great that it's also that the franchisor allows you guys some leeway. They didn't make you be a cookie cutter. Here's the exact steps. You pull out the manual and you just go down the list, and it allowed you guys, I think, maybe to have more success since they let you personalize it quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Without compromising the brand, but you were able to bring that in. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
If someone's listening and wants to get better at something, and be it fitness or health or business, is there something that you have come across that you like that you could recommend?
Yeah, I think just on the surface level, something that I live by is this acronym GOOD, GUD. And I tell my employees this all the time, where I think about it. get uncomfortable daily. And so I'll ask them, are you good? Are you getting uncomfortable daily? And the sense that our growth occurs in areas where we step outside of our comfort zones. And that can be on a lot of things. It's picking up a book for me that is maybe different than what I'm used to reading, or maybe bigger than what I'm used to tackling. On fitness, it's maybe trying a new exercise. I recently picked up mountain biking that you and I have done together. So I'm like a completely different discipline than what I'm used to. And it's really uncomfortable, and I've come to love it. And so I think part of that is seeking areas of life that are uncomfortable for you and pursuing them in small ways. We don't have to go off the deep end, but finding little areas to do that. And then I am a big believer too, just in general, that the benefits of reading everything I can get my hands on, newsletters, articles, books. I mean, I read fiction, nonfiction, biographies, all of it. I love it. And we can learn so much from that. And so anything and everything, just finding places to read and grow in that way on any topic.
That's awesome. And the reading is so good for, there's all kinds of studies about the most successful CEOs read 50 something books, some crazy number every year. So it's, those guys are doing something to hit their position. And on the good, I love that, something we talk about within our family or it's okay to fail. Now, don't do stupid stuff and fail, but if you're trying new things and pushing yourself a little bit, I'd rather my kids fail trying something new than stay in their same lane. We can go through life and fail never or very little, but you kind of stay in your same rut and safety. So it's okay to fail. So that's good stuff. GUD stuff.
Yeah, that's getting me good. And for me, it's like a way to practice. I have some perfectionist tendencies of not wanting to fail, and in how people perceive that. And so it forces me to kind of live that out a little bit and learn and grow in that way. And also, as the business grows and scales, like if I'm not reiterating myself every step along the way, the business will stagnate. And so there's this aspect of the things I did with 1 store and 3 stores and 5 that just don't work with 10 and that won't work with 20. I don't know what all of those are. So it's this idea of I got to try things, be willing to mess things up and learn from that and go back and it's just getting more comfortable being uncomfortable.
Good. Yeah. And when that's reading too, you're learning from other people's experience, mistakes or successes by reading biographies or different improvement books, or even maybe some fiction. You get a little bit of information that like may spark an idea for you. So, I mean, I think reading is so critical with children and adults that you keep reading beyond your requirements at school, creating that love of reading because it helps you. Because the alternative sometimes is surfing the internet or watching mindless movies, which in small doses isn't necessarily bad, but you definitely aren't growing in those moments.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
So John, it's not like things are going well in your business. And as a lot of people, as they start having success, start thinking about opportunities for creating passive income to either supplement their income or maybe eventually one day replace it. Have you ever had any thoughts on that?
I have some, and you hear it a lot in tying it back to the food service industry of like people asking, the McDonald's model, it's not really about food, it's about real estate. And true, right? Like it started as food though, and they grew into that. And so for me, as we're starting to scale, it is a pretty capital heavy business. To open a new restaurant takes equipment, construction, all these different things. So the growth has been geared more towards opening new stores. As the business expands now, I see opportunities on the commercial side. Maybe there's a chance to buy a property, either a standalone and put myself in, or a small strip center. I become anchor tenant and really start to build a portfolio around that real estate. Being in Fort Worth is another great market just in general to get involved with things. Like I bought a small office building with a friend recently that we're filling up and working on. And so starting to utilize some things like that as we grow that tie directly into what I do. But then also I think that's the next iteration of that, is that there's opportunities that opens doors up to find some other investments that can come along that portfolio.
Good stuff. So as we're wrapping up the interview, do you have any exciting plans or initiatives over the next 6 to 12 months you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the pipeline that we have just in this brand with Chicken Salad Chick. I've got some sites that I'm looking to open 4 more next year if the real estate all hits. And so that's an exciting growth number for us when you say I've averaged 1 a year up until now. I've made some hires recently, brought on a director of ops to really help me accelerate that. He's taken a lot of the day-to-day and let me focus on building the business. So looking at other opportunities within this brand, I think that the other thing that makes sense in franchising space is getting into a multi-brand position. And so looking at other brands maybe to add to the portfolio that are complementary. So that's maybe a little bit longer term than 6 to 12, but definitely the growth with some new stores next year is on the horizon, and excited about getting those open in these communities.
That's awesome. I love hearing that, and I can't wait to see how that works out over the next year for you. See when they open, not if they open, when they open, right?
Yeah. So I might be under a rock for the next 12 months trying to get those open, but if you don't see me in the mornings, you'll know why.
Sure. Well, we'll reach out and check on you occasionally. Awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing some of your tips and insights. If any of our listeners would like to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So John Schissler on LinkedIn, you can go there. And then you can also get in touch with us maybe through our website, jmhosp.com. And there's a place there to connect, and would love to hear from you.
Great. Well, John, thanks so much. I'm really enjoying visiting with you. I'm sure all of our listeners are going to enjoy this. So everybody remember to hit like and share this episode if you can. We really appreciate you listening to us. Thanks very much. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for listening to the Flex Forward podcast. If you've got grit, growth, and a great story, visit flexforwardpodcast.com/guest to apply and join us on the show.